This year, TV watchers all around the world gathered at a funeral for a person we didn't even know personally, Rue Bennett. I'm not sure I've ever seen a character's death move so many people deeply the way Rue in Euphoria has.
I'm having a small little get-together this weekend for Rue. Bring your own bottles. We're going to be taking shots. It's going up. Food will be provided.
Girl, why would you be at the end of this table like this after Ali called you his daughter, girl? What more do you want from me, Ruby?
Why?
She's calling me a foil, bro.
What happened?
A lot of people are getting built today. Okay, so this is my Euphoria tree. This is my memorial dedicated to Rue. We have Allie. We won't name these two. And we have my baby Rue. Now, I really want to keep things light. That's for Rue.
Bitch, I'm irritated. I'm living. Bitch, why couldn't y'all kill Cassie? Bitch, kill Cassie. Bitch, now she gotta write her name in a book.
I've only watched the first season of Euphoria when I was in high school, which is actually insane now that I think back to it. While I was interested in the characters, the show was simply too edgy and uncomfortable for me to watch, so I didn't feel compelled to watch season 2. I briefly considered watching season 3 because I wanted to be in the loop, but when I read online that season 3 episode 1 featured a scene where a certain bodily substance was being strained with the same apparatus us regular folk use to strain pasta, I felt like I would be safer out of the loop entirely. Despite this, I was still fed clips and reactions to the show on my TikTok FYP. The general consensus was that the show regressed greatly and that it was hardly the same. The only constant was Rue and the audience's deep care for the main character. She was still getting into trouble while also trying to recover from her drug addiction. The last episode depicts Rue dying from an accidental fentanyl overdose, and in response, social media erupted with tearful reactions and hurtful edits. I even found myself crying over a character I only properly watched for one season years ago. The day after the season finale, I kept thinking about Rue's death. I feel that it's unfair and that she deserved way better. But why? Why do I care so much about a fictional character's death as someone who wasn't invested in the show? Why has Rue's death affected millions of people around the world so deeply? It's what I would refer to as the Zendaya Effect. Not many actors can instantly make audiences feel deep empathy for their characters like Zendaya can. It's a superpower that Zendaya displays no matter what movie or show she's in. Zendaya is undeniably a movie star and beloved by the general public, whether it be for her projects, style, or personality. It would be safe to call her the people's princess. Zendaya has built up her pristine reputation since her Disney days, but this doesn't make her an inaccessible figure. Most people who keep up with Zendaya and tuned into Euphoria grew up seeing Zendaya as a child star on Disney Channel. She is a part of many of our childhoods, and so that establishes a parasocial closeness. She may not display her personal drama for everyone to indulge in, and we only really see her when she's promoting a project, yet many people are invested in the glimpses she shows of her life and her characters. Zendaya's brand is being an extremely stylish and likable movie star who off the red carpet seems down to earth and relatable. She's a major cultural figure who has been in the spotlight for 16 years, yet we don't know that much about her, so this makes her someone people can project onto. She feels like a friend, someone dear to us, so we treat her characters with more grace. We went from seeing her dance and wear the most colorful outfits I think I've ever seen on Shake It Up to playing a drug addict who struggles to get better on Euphoria. She inhabits the character of Rue with ease, and while watching scenes of Euphoria, I forget that I'm even looking at the same lady who dressed up as Joan of Arc at the Met Gala. Zendaya completely disappears. However, the innate affection audiences feel for her doesn't. She brings honesty and familiarity to her characters, so it makes it easy to root for them and empathize. Rue is far from being a perfect character. She doesn't always say the right thing or do the right thing, and her reputation is anything but pristine. Over the 3 seasons of Euphoria, we witness Rue verbally abuse her mother and create an unsafe environment in the home for her little sister, manipulate her friends and mentor Ali, sell drugs, steal drugs from a stranger's home, participate in illegal drug trafficking, abandon her friend Angel at a shady rehab facility, and put her friends in harm's way repeatedly. It would be easy for audiences audiences to reduce Rue to a villain who generates chaos wherever she goes, but Zendaya approaches the character in a more multifaceted way. For Zendaya, Rue is more than just a character she's playing. She treats her like a real person, and that allows the audience to understand her a little more. Zendaya understands that Rue doesn't just make these mistakes and hurt people because she's choosing to be a bad person. It's because of her drug addiction and mental illness. She handles the character with care and gentleness as though she knows her, and the audience can feel that through her performance. When discussing Rue, Zendaya has said, quote, "It's my hope for people watching that they still see her as a person worthy of their love," unquote. It's clear with all of Zendaya's comments on Rue that she has a great amount of love for the character.
I think of Rue as as a real person. I think of her as somebody, I don't know if she's a little sister to me or somebody, but I really, really care about her. And I have a tremendous amount of protection and I just want her to do well in life and all this stuff, you know? What I hope she finds out what I hope she allows herself is to accept the good things in her life and to accept the fact that she's worthy of good things. Because I think when you make those kinds of mistakes and you cause that kind of damage, you don't think that you're worthy of good and you continue to damage yourself. And I want her to know that she's good. And I want her to know that she's worthy of love and beautiful things happening and entering her life.
Rue is at once a part of Zendaya and also someone Zendaya views as a separate entity. In regards to Rue's season 2 withdrawal scene, Zendaya asserted, quote, "Rue lost all control of who she is." And you can see there's a little moment after that where all of it becomes regret. You can see her doing it and then immediately regretting it and wondering why she's doing it. And then she does it again. And it's just a really painful cycle to watch her go through. And I didn't particularly enjoy having to watch her deal with that, unquote. It's more than just being about the actions. It's also about the complicated and constantly shifting feelings behind it that Zendaya navigates skillfully through her performance. She doesn't treat the character with disdain or impatience. She's aware that Rue's journey won't be linear, but maintains that hope for her. Rue tries to redeem herself several times throughout the series, but the vicious nature of addiction makes recovery difficult. Zendaya's compassionate view of Rue shapes her multidimensional performance and allows the audience to see Rue as a lost soul with a good heart. In season 3 of Euphoria, Rue is not the only character that endures a tragic death. So does Nate Jacobs, played by Jacob Elordi. Unlike with Rue, the audience's reaction was less mournful. Nate is another character who has harmed many people, especially his ex-girlfriend Maddie. He put Maddie through the ringer. Nate physically and emotionally abuses Maddie, choking her in season 1 and holding a gun to her head in season 2. He also gets into a secret relationship with Maddie's best friend Cassie, all while breadcrumbing Maddie in season 2. He catfishes and blackmails Jules with her explicit photos. He violently beats Tyler, a guy who was flirting with Maddie, and then frames him for assault. And at the end of season 2, Nate snitches on Fez to the police. Nate's transgressions throughout the show are, in my opinion, way more severe than Rue, partly because Nate wasn't addicted to drugs that altered the way he acted. Now, I'm not saying that having a drug addiction would suddenly dilute or erase his cruel actions. Nate's actions are influenced by trauma related to seeing the terrible things his father has done and the shame he feels about his sexual orientation. Nate is too difficult to root for because he's such a vile human being, and Jacob Elordi agrees. In 2021, Elordi described Nate as an, quote, "emotional terrorist, a narcissist, a sociopath, a freak," unquote. Elordi's portrayal of Nate wasn't rooted in making people empathize with the character and the type of people he represents in the real world. He understood Nate was an unpleasant character and leaned into that. Elordi discussed the process of embodying the character of Nate Jacobs with GQ, in which he, quote, "took himself to a gym where TikTokers trained, watching how those kids walked around and talked to girls, what songs made them beat their chest," unquote. He also took inspiration from shark documentaries and analyzed their predatory nature, stating, quote, "Nate is always watching. He'll bump into someone in the hallway like a shark when they test someone's leg, and then he comes up from the deep and just fucking annihilates them," unquote. Despite understanding that Nate is the quote-unquote bad guy or villain of Euphoria, he still has a lot of empathy for the character, asserting in a recent interview, quote, "I can look at everything that he does and maybe not understand it, but I can at the very least empathize," unquote. Elordi's empathy for Nate doesn't mean that he thinks he deserves more grace. In fact, he referred to Nate's death as, quote, "the end of era arrogance, unquote. Elordi understands that Nate doesn't deserve that much grace and approaches his character in that way. Now you may be asking, was there any other way to approach such a horrific character? He could have seen Nate as a traumatized man who would ultimately redeem himself, but that's only partially true to who the character was. Nate was a character who carried a lot of trauma, but he never expressed any desire to be a good person like Rue. Nate doesn't get a full redemption arc. Yes, he gives Jules the tape and calls the police on his father, but he never apologizes to Maddie for his abuse towards her. Elordi thought Nate had nowhere to go as a character, so Nate dies in the desert. Elordi understands that Nate got what he deserved, and many viewers feel the same way. On the other hand, Zendaya and the audience felt like Rue deserved a better ending. From season 1, Zendaya was very clear about her desire to see a hopeful ending for Rue.
And I always say that I feel like there's hope for Rue, because if Sam is any indication of who Rue can be, she'll be all right, you know? So there's definitely some hope there for Rue.
I think something that's kept me afloat while playing the character is knowing that she is a version of Sam when he was younger. Knowing that he was able to take all those things that happened to him and turn it into this art is something that gave me great comfort. And knowing that, well, Rue one day is gonna grow up and she's going to be like Sam.
Instead, we saw Rue die on her mentor Allie's couch from an accidental overdose in what Sam Levinson refers to as a realistic ending. This is such a slap in the face to Zendaya, Euphoria fans, and people who see themselves in Rue. Levinson has repeatedly stated that Rue is based on his experience with addiction and the character reflects his journey, just to suddenly ditch that in the pivotal ending. Levinson overcame his addiction, so why doesn't Rue? Him claiming that Rue's ending is realistic conveys a harmful message that recovery isn't realistic, which isn't true. What did he expect addicts and people who see themselves in Rue to feel? It feels like Rue's ending wasn't dealt with the importance and sensitivity it deserved, which is probably why Zendaya hasn't directly addressed it. Levinson has said Zendaya had an emotional reaction to learning about Rue's death and that it was a tough decision. Zendaya's mother, Claire Stormer, shared a cryptic Instagram post in regards to the ending, writing, quote, "I'm gonna keep my thoughts to myself, definitely made me sad and other emotions as well, but I'm gonna leave it right there," unquote, indicating that she wasn't pleased with the ending either. If it were solely up to Zendaya, Rue would have gotten a better ending based on the actress's previous statements on how she wanted the best for Rue, because she knows she's more than just a character for many people. Zendaya understood the responsibility she was taking on by playing this character, so I can't imagine how heartbreaking it was to not give Rue a more hopeful ending. In the hands of many other actresses, Rue could have been hard to love and root for. However, Zendaya's understanding of what Rue meant to millions of people and her affection for the character resonated with viewers. Zendaya carried every facet of Rue's truth, including the more delicate and ugly sides, while also infusing her with an irresistible charm, humor, and lovable essence. Not many actors can do that. Zendaya played another contentious character this year, Emma in the drama. This film tackles themes of redemption and empathy with a very sensitive and triggering topic in the United States, school shootings. According to IMDb, the story is about, quote, a happily engaged couple, Emma and Charlie, who was put to the test when an unexpected turn sends their wedding week off the rails, unquote. In a dinner scene with Charlie's friends leading up to their wedding, everyone shares the worst thing they've ever done. Under the influence of alcohol and seeing everyone freely share their secrets without judgment, Emma reveals that she planned a school shooting when she was a teenager. When I heard her say this, I thought she was lying or confused, because there's no way, right? Apparently there is a way. Charlie's friends are immediately shocked and disgusted by Emma's revelation. Rachel expects everyone to reject Emma completely and write her off, but Charlie struggles. I'm gonna be honest, if Emma was played by anyone but Zendaya, I would have reacted exactly like Rachel, because what are we talking about right now? Like, let me get my bag and go. I don't need to hear anymore. However, I have this natural affection for Zendaya that has been developed through watching her since I was a child and the image she has built for herself off screen. The director takes advantage of Zendaya's likability to adequately traverse through this uncomfortable terrain. Zendaya's presence makes the audience more open to exploring the themes of redemption and forgiveness. Emma planned the horrifying act to a pretty detailed degree. She got her father's rifle, filmed a manifesto, and practiced shooting. But when another shooting happened at a mall that claimed the life of one of her classmates, this, she decided not to follow through with her plan. Some people claim Emma ditched her plot because the mall atrocity would overshadow her plan and she really did have it in her heart to murder her classmates. But if that was the case, she could have done it another day. When Emma saw the direct effect shootings have on people, she realized it wasn't merely an online aesthetic. It became clear that the bullying and isolation Emma experienced due to being a black girl in a majority white school led her to find solace in a sinister part of the internet. It seems like Emma spent a lot of time at home alone without her parents, so that constant loneliness led her down dark roads. It may seem like I'm dismissing the fact that Emma planned such a horrific thing, but I have no problem admitting that planning it is terrible by itself. However, Emma didn't do it, and when she realizes how terrible it would have been if she did, it reveals that there was a large, more true part of her that didn't really want to hurt people. Emma further redeems herself by joining a student-led gun control advocacy group and throwing away the rifle. This isn't performative bullshit to appeal to someone. She sticks to this path and changes her life. It took me a few days of thinking to fully understand that Emma is a redeemed character, and this forced me to confront my own way of judging people. I'm gonna be very honest. If Emma was a white girl or white guy, I most likely wouldn't have come to this conclusion. My walls would have been all the way up. But Zendaya's portrayal of Emma made me more willing to understand Emma's character. Unlike Rue's narration in Euphoria, we don't get Emma's perspective in the drama, yet I still felt more trust for her than I did for Charlie. A large part of this is because Zendaya performs Emma with so much compassion, and that radiates through the screen.
With Emma, she has like a fragility that I enjoyed trying to uncover, and almost like there's like a permanent or perpetual like little girl in her that just really is seeking to be loved and accepted, and trying to balance that with also being a grown woman who's, you know, has a life and is getting married, and kind of seeing that that kind of crack and starting to see that very innocent, vulnerable child-like thing come out of her sometimes. And I think we all have that. I think often, like, emotionally, we all kind of revert to like our childlike selves, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't really know, but I think that was something that I enjoyed kind of sort of playing around with, especially with that one scene that we kind of keep referencing. It almost feels like, you know, like a school kid, you know, and it's like a bunch of being peer pressured to do something, and then maybe you shouldn't have.
It's my job to empathize, you know?
Yeah.
It's my job not to judge my character and to do my best to understand where they're coming from and do my best to humanize them as much as I possibly can. And I think ultimately with Emma, I think there is so much fragility in her. We get to see that sadness or that vulnerability or that wanting to have, you know, whether it be community or to feel like you belong somewhere. Exactly. And I think Charlie represents a sense of belonging. Ultimately, in this particular scenario, it's the idea of when you love someone, what are you willing to move past? What are you willing to accept in someone? How much is love truly, you know, conditional at the end of the day?
Zendaya highlights Emma's shame and remorse, but also that she's desperate to be understood. Because we're so distant from Emma as a character, sometimes she comes off as intimidating and hard to read, but I could still sense an earnestness and vulnerability that makes her accessible to the audience. The character is very complex and uncomfortable, yet Zendaya approached her with empathy rather than playing a straight-up villain, which would have been the easier road to take. Charlie is the protagonist of the film, and the audience follows his perspective. However, I had a harder time trusting him. It wasn't that Pattinson is a white man. It's that you could tell by the way Pattinson plays Charlie that he sees his character as a pathetic loser who is too concerned with how people perceive him. Pattinson has shared
He's very sensitive. He's a little oversensitive to that. I mean, that's kind of what the humor of it is, because there's so many parts of the movie he's reacting. And I mean, I guess it's how you always, when you're spiraling, suddenly everything seems crazy, and it's like, oh my God, like she's wearing a different hat.
She's crazy.
Zendaya noted how Pattinson did a, quote, 360 from hating Charlie so much to being like, he's really cool and I'm invested in his life, unquote. Pattinson's distaste towards Charlie is palpable in the film. He plays the character like a loser, even though he's in a difficult situation. I would be high-key spiraling too like Charlie, but Pattinson felt like Charlie's spiraling was more rooted in his fear of being judged, as opposed to genuinely feeling like he may not know who his partner is. Zendaya's performance in the drama allows the audience to give grace to and attempt to understand a morally gray character.
I think I enjoy playing characters that maybe sometimes on paper do things that would consider them unlikable, unlovable, or irredeemable. And that being my job to make people empathize with them and care about them. I think that's one of my greatest hopes always has been with Rue, for example. It's like I always want people to empathize and love her and care about her, despite the decisions that she makes and the people that she hurts along the way, and remember that she's human and she's hurting too. And I think that just becomes like your job as an actor is just to make them as lovable as you can, no matter what harm they cause themselves or others. So I don't know, that just becomes my challenge. And I like that part of what we do.
Directors casting Zendaya, someone that audiences adore and trust, makes it easier for viewers to receive the message of their projects. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think about Zendaya as an actor. And please don't ask me about the fish.